Good morning, Eleanor. Good morning. Hi. Yeah. Peaceful kitty. Happy kitty. Peaceful kitty. Oh, look at the fuzzy belly, huh? Look at that belly. Look at that belly. Look at that belly. Oh, goodbye. Good morning, honey. Good morning, buddy. Whoa, got your head. I got your head. Okay. Whoa. Good morning, honey. I can't get you in the frame. You keep moving. You keep moving. Yeah. My baby boy. Good morning, honey. Bye-bye. Hey guys, how are you? Welcome back to my channel. It's me, Steven, and little lady Eleanor. Want to say hi to your friends? Eleanor does not look happy right now. She would like to get down. Would you like to get down? Yeah? Yeah, because you would. There you go. Hey there, hi there, ho there. So welcome back to my channel and welcome to Vlogtober Day 12. I have to bid. Today is the first day of bidding, so I figured I'd sort of share with you what I could or what I can about my bidding. I can't show you hotel information or my other coworkers' information. So I'm going to do what I can in terms of showing you what I'm going to bid for, how I'm going to do it, and let's see how this works, because it would be very hard to do what I want to do without showing you what I can't show you. So let's try this out. All right, let's go. Okay, so this is the main start page for Flicka. I am cutting off the very top that shows my airline information. We're going to ignore most of the stuff on the screen there. We're going to look mostly at the left-hand side. I think other airlines use Flicka as we do, but they're probably organized differently. Flicka is a website that we use to bid for lines, bid for reserve, trade trips, pick up trips, swap out of trips, bid for vacation, check the reserve grid if you're in reserve, see who's available on reserve, so you can kind of gauge, where you might be on that list. So we're going to look at the left-hand side for the most part. So hold on, I'll try and focus over there. So we're looking at monthly flight attendant bid. And you can see August, September, those have been completed. October, we're bidding for November for next month. If I want to click on LAS November 22 flight attendant bid package, I can open that up. It's a very large document that has everything in there that we need to really sort of plan. So if you're going to be on recurrent in the next month or two, if you're going to have your passport renewed, if you need to look for contact information for transportation companies, for executives or any of the supervisors in our company, you'd find all of that information there. If you're with my company and you're brand new, scroll all the way down to at the bottom of that page and take a picture of the contact list so you can see emails and phone numbers when you need them later on, when things kind of, when the poop hits the fan, because eventually it will. You can look below, you see buddy bid. I've never done that. I don't know anyone I like enough to buddy bid. View or print lines. We're going to click on submit bids, which is at the bottom of the frame there. We're going to click on submit bids. I know we haven't even looked at bid packages yet, but that's what we have to start with. So let's click on that. Okay, so that brings us to this page. At the top of the frame you see here, you'll see a black box that says you must click additional bid options button to provide required information. If you look on the left-hand side, my cursor is right there, it is. If you look on the left-hand side, right over here, it says additional bid options. Do you see that? we're going to click on that button. After I click OK up here, we're going to click OK. So now I'm going to go over here and I'm going to click additional bid options, which is right there. So a little window pops up in the middle of the screen. The top part of this window says my airline name, so I'm trying to focus in on the 5 options we're looking at here. The bottom 2, relief and buddy lines, I don't have to worry about those. I'm never going to do either of those that I know of. So let's focus on the top 3. Do you want to waive your 24/7 in order to maintain schedule integrity? If I say yes, that means I can work as many days in a row as I want to. If there's like 10 days in a row, one of those 10 days has to be a 24-hour layover because we can't work 7 days in a row. We can only work up to 6 days in a row legally. So if I say yes, that means I can work 10 days in a row, but that 7th day, for example, has to be a 24-hour layover. If I click no, I've never done that before because I want to work as much as possible without losing my mind, of course. If I click no, I believe the only things that will be available to me on Flickr will be the lines that have 6 days in a row max. So I always click yes because I want to be able to work as many days in a row if it serves my purposes. So I'm going to hit yes and apply. The next, waive 33/7. Do you waive your 33/7? Same thing. If I want to be able to be scheduled more than 37 hours in a week, or I think that's it, I say yes. If I don't, then they'll limit the number of work hours I can work a week. I'm not sure if that makes any sense at all, but I click yes. I always have, and it's always worked for me. Ta-da! Ready reserve. If awarded a reserve line, God help me, do everyone, sorry. Reserve life in my airline is not that bad, but do you want ready reserve assignments? Exemption is limited and awarded by seniority. No, thank you. I do not want to work ready reserve. In my airline, ready reserve, you're exempt from sitting ready reserve, which means you sit at the airport for 5 hours. You're credited for 4, which means if you're in the top 20% of reserves, you can be exempt from sitting reserve. If you click yes, you're going to sit reserve every freaking day. So always click no. Even if you're the most junior flight attendant, just click no. All right, and the bottom 2 we don't have to worry about, so we're going to click on OK. Okay, so what you cannot see on your screen right now that I can see in person is in the top left-hand side, my airline name. Below that is my name, my employee number, and my seniority in base. I'm currently 310 out of 697. Not too bad, not too shabby. 2.5 years ago, I was 390, so now I'm 310. That's fine with me. Once people acquire some seniority in Vegas, it just seems very hard to leave. So it's taken me 2.5 years to rise up to this point. I am very happy with that, no problem. In the company, my seniority has actually risen quite significantly faster than that. But within base, it seems kind of stuck where it is for a little while. But on the left-hand side, you also can't see all of my coworkers' names in their position in seniority. But when you see it in person, if you work for my company at my base, you'll be able to scroll through that and see who is in what position in seniority. On the left-hand side, which is over here, we'll look at this later on, but you'll see some bid options up here. We've already clicked on additional bid options. You remember that. Here is where my bid will show up as I build my bid package. So let's look more closely over in the middle of the screen. I should point out when someone says I'm a line holder or I'm bidding for line, say, for example, line number 8, this is a line, this is a schedule. Each of these blue hyperlinks is a pairing. All right, so each of these lines, this is a line here, this is a line here, are made up of pairings. And each of these pairings you'll see is denoted as a little hyperlink. They start with an L, that stands for Las Vegas. A 7 over here means that it is a 321 chaser pairing, and that is when you have 2 chasers on a 321. They're going to be position E and position D. E sits up in front with the lead. D will sit in on R3, and they'll take care of different parts of the aircraft. On the right-hand side over here, see where it says the L9? That is a 320 chaser pairing, and the 320 chaser pairing is position D on a 320. It makes sense when you're here, trust me. And you're going to sit up in front with the lead on a 320 aircraft. The other one, all right, so the other type of pairing will be over here where it starts with a 3. So you see where it says L3? A 3 means it is a basic pairing. So that means there are 3 coworkers. You could be flying a 319, a 320, or a 321, but you're going to be the part of the main crew. I know that has probably thrown a whole bunch of people off, but if you're a flight attendant or if you're going to training, you might have an idea what I'm talking about there. So what I typically do when I'm bidding for a line is I start looking at regular basic pairings for 3 flight attendants. That because I like to fly lead, and that in those positions I have a possibility or an opportunity where I might fly lead. So this next thing I'm going to show you isn't something I do frequently, because when I bid, I always bid from my laptop. I'm rarely ever using a computer at the hotel or a tablet or my phone. I'm almost using my computer, so the settings are always consistent. But if I were to be at a hotel and I'm bidding, for example, there might only be 4 or 5 lines that show up across that whole page. The rest will be empty. Or if I'm on a tablet, I might only be able to see 5 or 6 lines on the tablet, where my laptop I can see more. I can go up to the top here. See right up here where it says page 3 of 33. If I click on that, this is going to give me an option to change how many lines show up across my screen. So I'm going to change that, for example, to 9. And you'll see that 2 lines disappeared from here. So if I'm working on a tablet, that might be what I can see. But if I'm going back to my laptop, I could just change that to an 11 and go back to seeing that full section. So, depending on the device you're using, if it's yours or not, that might be helpful. All right, so next, to look for the lines that I'm interested in, I'm going to use these buttons up here. And these kinds of things I'm only sharing with you if you're new to bidding, if you're like a new line holder, or you're practicing bidding on reserve with the hopes of being a line holder. I'm going to use these buttons up here to navigate back and forth through here. This is to move forward 1 line at a time. See 56 up here? Now it's 57. If I go to use this one here with the 2 arrows, I'm going a full page, meaning a whole section. Now we're at 88, 99, blah, blah, blah. If I use this one here, it means all the way to the end. You guys, especially kids that have been raised using laptops, you already know how to navigate. But just in case you're new to this, so I'm using the page forward button until I get to a page. You see all of these 9s. Do you remember we talked about what 9s are? Those are all chaser pairings for a 320. But you'll start seeing 3s over here. So I'm going to move forward. See these that have all, they just say LAS, the LAS. That just means the trip begins and it ends in 1 day in Vegas and ends in Vegas. So let's see if I can show you what one of those looks like without sharing too much information. Let's see. Yeah, I can. So I'm going to go right here. That's L3053 Las Vegas. Because it just says Las Vegas, that means it's going to begin and end in base in Las Vegas. So I'm going to click on that. And a window pops up. On the top part of this says my airline. So I'm kind of trying to crop that off. But this is what a turn looks like. This is a pairing, but it shows what a turn looks like. So on the top left-hand side, you see my cursor, follow my cursor up to the left. The pairing number, L3053, it's operating on the 4th of November. I don't know what, only on Friday, whatever. But it says base report. That shows the report time is 4:55 p.m. The next line, it's base equipment. It's going to be a 319. And you'll see that right there. So we're flying on a 319. Friday, it's going to live right here. So Friday the 4th, flight number 1285, Las Vegas to Denver. It's departing at 5:55. It's arriving in Denver at 8:53. It's block time. It's blocked at 1 hour and 58 minutes. Now, it could only take an hour and 20 minutes, but it's blocked at 1:58. Ground time means from deplaning, cleaning, catering, whatever else has to happen, and then boarding for the next flight. So they're setting aside an hour and 16 minutes, which seems fairly generous. Sometimes it's as little as 45 minutes. Next line, Friday the 4th, because it's a turn, meaning they're leaving, coming back the same day. Flight 1284, Denver to Las Vegas. It's departing Denver at 10:09. It's arriving in Las Vegas at 11:09. And since, that just says an hour, but there's an hour difference in time zones. So it's blocked at 2 hours. There is no ground time because it's a turn. You're coming back. Its total block is 3:58. So if you add the block times, 3:58, it's being credited at 4 hours total. I think that's our minimum if you have a turn. So there you go. Total duty is 6 hours and 44 minutes. And 6:14, I think, is what the block is. I don't know. There is no layover. So any layover information will be on your left-hand side. The next bit down here is TAFB. It says time away from base, 6 hours and 44 minutes. So we get $2.67 for every hour we're away from base. And that's, I believe, is that from check-in? No, I think it might be check-in. It might be block-in. I'm not sure. But we get $2.67 per hour. Yeah, there you go. There are 3 positions you'll see: FA open, FA open, FA open. If this were on the trade board or something, or this were on open time, you might see 1 flight attendant's name here and 2 open positions, and that's how you would be able to see what position you might be flying or what seniority the other coworkers might be on that pairing. So this is what a turn pairing looks like. Let's look for another pairing that shows a little bit more work. All right, so this is one that might work out. So I'm going to open up pairing L3029 Las Vegas. Click on that. And there's another pairing. This is still a pairing that begins and ends on the same day in base. So it's going to operate on Tuesday the 1st. So we have all that information. The report time up there is 11:42 in the morning. And that L means local, just for fun, right up there. Again, it all operates on Tuesday. The flight numbers are along here. The flights are here, of course. So now we're going Vegas to Denver, Denver, Las Vegas, Las Vegas to Oakland, Oakland to Vegas. So we've got 2 turns here. So 4 legs. Total block, 6 hours and 55 minutes. Total credit, 6 hours, 55 minutes. Even if for some reason these flights are faster. For example, let's see, block. Las Vegas to Denver, that usually takes like an hour and a half. So if it's 20 minutes shorter each way, you're looking at maybe 40 minutes. These Oakland turns can be a little bit less as well. So it might only be an actual block of 6 hours, but you'll still get credit for those 55 other minutes there. Duty time is 12 hours and 16 minutes. Credit, again, 655. And there are 3 flight attendants that are going to be working that trip. So now the difference between this kind of pairing and another one that I'm not going to show you. Well, I'll see if I can. But if there are layovers, I don't know if I can show you that without showing you hotel information. Let me see if I can try. Yeah, I could have showed you another pairing that included a layover, but I would have had to put so many stickers on the screen to cover information like hotel information, phone numbers, transportation numbers, all that kind of stuff. So I'm just going to keep showing you this example right here. If there were a layover, for example, in Oakland, right over here, we would see the hotel information, hotel potentially phone number, and on the right hand side over here, we would see a number of hours that the layover was. So if it was a 15-hour and 45-minute layover, we'd see that information on the right hand side here. So as I'm going through the lines, I look at, well, let me show you what I look for. All right, so I know that the last trip of October transitions between October and November. So I'll be working the first full day of November. Isn't he creepy? That's something I have for sale on eBay, sorry. It looks like a little creepy parrot on my shoulder. But, so I'll be working the first day of November. I ideally want 2 or 3 days off between trips. So what I have to do is find a way to look for lines that have the first 3 days of the month off at least. So how do I do that? I'll show you. All right, so to find lines that have at least the first 3 days of the month scheduled off, I'm going to go up to the top left-hand side up here and click Sort. So this window pops up, and there are 3 categories to choose from here: days, pairings, lines. If I click on days, I'll see all sorts of options here. Do I want to have specific days off listed? Do I want specific days on or off, consecutive days off, guaranteed days off? Say, for example, I want to bid on reserve. Pairings, maybe I want to show pairings that have deadheads first. Fly through airport, say I hate flying through Miami. I might, want to know which ones to avoid. Length of pairings, 1 leg home, which is a very popular selection because, you don't want to work 5 legs your last day of a trip. And then I can look over at lines and say, which ones have the most credit hours? Which one has the earliest report time or latest report time? For example, if I'm commuting, I know what to look for. I can choose any or all of these things and set them in the number of which one is the most important preference for me. So I can show how the lines are then presented to me, so I can then select them as I need to. For me, what I need to do is look at the minimum. I want to look for specific days off right here. I'm going to click that and the calendar will show up. I'll select 1, 2, and 3 so I can have the 1st of November off because I know I'm working that day. I don't want any lines that show up that had that as the first day. I want the 2nd and the 3rd off just so I can have some days off between trips. So I'm going to click on specific days off, and then I'm going to hit apply. And I'm going to tell you that because if I do that right now, it starts to show up all sorts of windows that show my airline name on it. So let me see if I can do this without showing that. So here's the calendar that will pop up. I'm going to go and select 1. There we go. 2 and 3 at the minimum. And then I'm going to hit apply at the very bottom. So this is the screen you get after hitting apply. So it's going to show you my preferences in order of priority. First, I selected my 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of November off, most to least. That will show you, it's going to reorder lines as they show, and the lines that have most of those days off will show up first and the least at the end. 115 lines match my preference there. I also added another preference just for kicks to show you what you can do. I selected also which lines have deadheads in the pairings that have those days off. Unfortunately, 0 do. So I'm just going to delete that because there are no lines that have deadheads on that in the pairings that do match my first preference. So I'm going to click on the word apply. And what's going to happen is they're going to reorder the lines to show up in the order that of my preferences. So you'll see the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd or more are off all the way across. Now, if I use the navigation buttons and I move forward page after page, eventually I'm going to get to a point where the lines don't have all 3 of my preferred days off. See where it's pink, it says 2? So this one, for example, shows that it will be working on the 1st. I have a trip on the 1st. I'll be coming back home. So that's not a line I'm going to choose. I'm not going to choose that line. These that have the 2nd and the 3rd, or the 1st and the 2nd off, I could in theory work because at least I'd have the 2nd day off of the month before a trip. But because there's 115 lines that do have my preferred days off, I'm going to go back to the front, back to the top, back to the first page. The first lines that show up, this is a 321 chaser pairing, not my preference. I don't want to work a 321 chaser pairing. I don't ideally want to work a regular chaser pairing on a 320 either. So what I'm going to do is use the navigation buttons to move forward. There's a lot of chaser pairings to the point where the lines that show up with a 3 begin, and that's right here. So these, again, are probably turns, which seem to go to senior people. I might kind of tuck one on there just in case, but typically I'm just too junior to get a turn line. I don't like turn lines anyway because per diem doesn't really seem to add up very fast there. So I'm going to continue moving forward until I start to see a line, and I can casually glance through all of these right away. Like I can glance through all of those and see that none of these really seem very hot to me. These are all 2-day trips that are back to back to back to back, and I would rather hang myself than than work back to back to back to back trips. Please, no thank you. But you'll notice over here, the trips start with like 3 and 4 day trips. And so this one right here, boy, that looks really appealing to me. Right off the bat, that looks really appealing because the first trip is line 3363. It has a Baltimore layover, a Portland layover, which is long or 24 hours. See that little dash? That means it's a very, very long layover, typically. And that the last day of the trip, I return back to Las Vegas. So that's a nice pairing. If I want to go to Portland, I'm going to Portland this month. I might not want to go next month. Here I've got a Cleveland, a long Cleveland layover. I'm going to have a layover in New Orleans, MSY, back in Las Vegas. Phoenix, a long layover in Denver. That might be nice. I've been given some suggestions on what to do in Denver. It's not as bad as it was my last time in Denver. And then the last trip of the month, where is that? Is that MHT? Where is MHT? Oh gosh, I've never been there. I don't know. I'll have to look that one up. It might be a new one for us. But then it goes to Philly and Atlanta. See where it says, oh, you can't see at the bottom. Let's see if I can scroll this up. Hold on, let me see. 1 sec. All right, sorry. Here you can see where it says MHT. I really have to Google where that is. Philadelphia. And the last line right here, can you see it? It says Atlanta, ATL. Because it does not say Las Vegas, that means the next day, which would be December 1st, would be when I would come back to Las Vegas. So this would be a nice line because it gives me Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. Also giving me a lot of time off at the top of that line to maybe pick up a day, pick up a short trip or a turn or something. So that might be my first line. So I'm going to click, using my thing here, I'm going to click up here, 178. That's line 178. Click. Now, I know this is tedious, isn't it? Now, if you see over here, it shows up as my first line. That's my bid sheet right here. So I'm gonna now look through. Again, I can just casually glance right away at these lines and see whether or not I would like to work them or not. This doesn't look bad. This could be a good idea right here. All right, so right over here. This has the days I need off, a 4-day trip where I have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday off, a 3-day trip, a 4-day trip, a 4-day trip. At the very bottom, if you see, and this is just my line of thought here. Sorry, this camera setup is not great. This is how I'm trying to think. Now, if you work for my airline and you know what I'm talking about, lead-in trips or lead-in conflict trips, since this one down here at the very bottom of my screen, see my finger? It says L3280 Portland. That could be a 3 or a 4-day trip. Let me see what it is. All right, so I opened it off screen. So this is a 3-day trip. So that means that this operates on the 30th, and then it operates on the 1st and 2nd. Now, next month, if I work it right, if I end up, accidentally of course, with a line that offers me fewer days off than 13, then I get to ask for one of those trips to be removed from my trip, and then I get paid for it, pay protected. So it's a way that people try to make a little extra money with my airline. But that's a kind of a thing I try to start thinking about as well when I start looking for lines. But so let's just, for fun, I will click on, sorry, my hand. I will click on, say for example, these lines were great. So I selected all of those lines. All 3 of them show up, all 4 of them show up on my bid sheet. Look over here. For example, but if I say, for example, found that line 175 was better than line 201, I could just click on that number 5 and it moves that line down. I can then go in and add 169 and 170. So if those were lines I preferred more than 201, that's how I can sort of add or subtract lines from my bid sheet. Ta-da! Oh my God. All right, so hey guys, all right, let me finish my thought, because I sort of forgot I had a monkey wrench thrown into next month. Let me tell you how I would complete and finish a bid sheet, and then I'll tell you what's really going on and why I'm rubbing my head in frustration. All right, so let me pause. Okay, so after I have put together a series of lines that I'm bidding for, that I'm requesting, I would go up and I would click on Submit Bids. And what you'll see is all the bids that you are requesting in order that you bid them for. And you'll see them, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and so on. And then you'll see so make sure it's right. Then go on the upper right-hand corner right here and click Email. So the bids has been submitted, and now you want to send yourself a copy of that bid. And so this is, the website it's coming from. You type your email in there, your personal email if you prefer. I find it easier that way. Type in a subject line. That's going to be your November bid, for example. You don't have to write a message, but if you want to. And then you just scroll down, and right down here, you can just click Send. And whoosh, it'll go off and you'll have a copy of your bid sheet. Now, as to why I was rubbing my head in frustration. It took me probably an hour, hour and a half, it's late afternoon now, to put together a bid sheet for next month that was made up of lines and trips that I really liked, layovers that I liked. I tend to aim towards layovers that I like, with enough days in between those days that I'm not gone from home very long. That's just basically my goal. Well, I have vacation next month. I looked through my bid sheet and realized that pretty much every line except for one had a trip that touched my vacation. Now, if a trip touches your vacation, or another trip from the previous month, say they overlap, for example, that trip is removed from your schedule. It's called your SAP, Schedule Adjustment Period. So say I bid for a line and there's a trip that overlaps my vacation period. They'd remove that trip from my schedule. I wouldn't receive credit for that trip, but I would be under SAP. So it's mildly confusing. There's a whole separate schedule that comes out on the 26th, or a whole separate selection of lines, I should say, that comes out later on the month, that I can choose to pick up a trip or hours to place on my days off to make up for those hours. So I can't, if I don't want to pick up a trip, that's okay. I just lose that trip. But I would still get my vacation hours. Am I making any sense? So, yeah, pretty much every line I selected had a trip that overlapped on my vacation. Now, what I really, really try to do whenever I have a vacation week is try to pick up a line that has that whole space of my vacation blank with no working trips, so that I get credit for my vacation, but I also get credit for my regular whole schedule, my whole line. That is the ideal. The number of lines that have all those days off are just a handful, a rough handful. In fact, there were, I can tell you, 17 lines. About 5 of them were lines that I would like to work. The rest seemed like compromises, and if I could swap out or, replace some of those trips, it wouldn't be like heartbreaking. But it took me probably another hour and 20 minutes of scouring through and filtering and doing all sorts of stuff to figure out those 17 lines. So I'm hoping to get one of those 17 lines, but that's about all I can do today because I am toast. I have to eat something. And I'm done bidding today. Today's only the 12th. Bidding closes on the 15th, 17th. It closes on the 17th. So I have a few days. I'm going to go back into my schedule, my bid sheet, in the next day or two, and sort of go through, see if there's anything I prefer or choose to lose or get rid of. And then what I'm going to do is later on go through other lines that do have a trip that is, touching or overlapping my vacation, but that aren't a lot of hours, say a turn or a 2-day trip, where I wouldn't miss it if those hours were, removed from my schedule. So, yeah, so that is why I'm a little frustrated, because I spent all that time bidding and then realized I have vacation coming up. The good news is that my vacation is the last few days of November and the first few days of December. So that's why I had at least 17 lines that had those days off, because they were, it's not so unusual to have 3 days off at the end of a month and 4 days off at the beginning of the next month. So it's not that unusual. So I did get a little bit lucky. If I haven't thoroughly confused you, you're welcome. You got lucky. So if I got lucky here, if I get what I want, I will get full credit for my schedule for the whole month, plus 28 hours of vacation time. So let's cross our fingers. I'll find out, I think, on the 17th. Yeah, on the afternoon of the 17th, what I get. So blah, blah, blah. This has been a very long video that's been probably very confusing. So I do apologize. It does all make sense the more you do it. In the meantime, let me just let you go so I can go eat something and give the cats their treats, because it is late afternoon and they are, well, they're napping, but they would really like a treat. So let me talk to you later. Have a great day and fly safe. See you tomorrow.